Yo, what's going on? This is James Bell of the Boxing Source, host of the Boxing Source radio show every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Blog Talk Radio. You could catch it on Blog Talk Radio same time every Sunday, or you could subscribe to the podcast, which is on iTunes, which is on Google Podcasts. It's also on Spotify or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Now, I'm going into the topic of the week. Of course, we're talking about Dillian the Bodysnatcher Whyte. He has been reported to have a positive test of epimethadinione and hydroxymethadinione. These are two active ingredients for a common drug, Dianabol. Now, what we have heard over the past 24 hours in reference to this is, number one, that there was a hearing that the British Boxing Board of Control held with Dillian Whyte before the fight between him and Oscar Rivas took place on Saturday, and that they were able to clear him to fight in the O2 Arena against Oscar Rivas for the interim WBC Heavyweight Championship and the mandatory position for the WBC World Heavyweight Championship. That is number one. Number two is that we've had a follow-up interview from Eddie Hearn that was on IFL TV that is currently on YouTube right now, where he kind of points out that there was a hearing that did take place between the British Boxing Board of Control and Dillian Whyte, and that, from that meeting and what was explained in that meeting or that hearing, that Dillian Whyte was officially cleared to fight. Now, two things here that kind of stick out real quick. Number one, the positive test. Who was able to catch that positive test? It was the UK anti-doping agency that caught the positive test, not the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, which was involved with this particular fight, as these guys were two top contenders within the WBC rankings. Therefore, they had to register within the clean boxing program that is set by the World Boxing Council. So that's one thing. The other thing is that there's been a lot of back and forth as far as, why was this fight able to take place? You see that he was tested positive for these two substances, so why did it go through? Well, you did have that meeting between Dillian Whyte and the British Boxing Board of Control. That's number one. And now it seems like more reports are coming out that the amounts that were found in Dillian Whyte's system were such a small amount that it couldn't have been a direct injection or direct taking of Dianabol. So now it seems like we're going to slowly get more information in reference to all of this, and that is something that a lot of us are going to be waiting for. Earlier today, the World Boxing Council issued a statement that said, at the time of their release, the WBC had not received any notification from anyone about a positive anti-doping test allegedly yielded by Dillian Whyte in connection with last Saturday's fight against Oscar Rivas for the WBC Interim Heavyweight Championship. The WBC has requested the British Boxing Board of Control, as the local governing entity that oversaw that fight, formally provide any available information to the WBC. The fight's promoters contracted the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association to perform pre-fight and after-the-fight anti-doping tests on both fighters. The WBC is not aware that any of the test results VADA has received up to now have yielded any adverse findings. Now, you have the positive test that came on the 17th. Now, one thing we have to look out for is what were the test results on July 20th. Were they the same positive test from UKAD that Dillian Whyte had on the 17th? If so, then you pretty much could throw the book at Dillian Whyte. But if not, then you pretty much have a huge appeal process that will take place from Dillian Whyte. And the speculation of the result of his fight with Oscar Rivas being changed from a win for Dillian Whyte into a no contest, that will pretty much be halted. So there is still few more things that have to be situated here with Dillian Whyte and this positive test that took place. You could go ahead and share your thoughts about Dillian Whyte, about the positive test, about VADA, about the British Boxing Board of Control, about the UK Anti-Doping Agency, or Eddie Hearn. And be sure to catch the Boxing Source radio show that will be on Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time, on Blog Talk Radio Live. You could call in. You could share your thoughts on what's going on in the sport of boxing. And I'll catch you later on YouTube, on the Boxing Source Radio Show, or on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. So until then, catch the next video, catch the next podcast. I'm out.